Hello, trail seekers, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Parasites and which municipal water supply are they existing in? We cover that and more in today's episode. Most people have parasites, even if you live in what you would consider a modern country with, sanitation. We think just because we live in America or Canada or New Zealand that we aren't exposed to parasites that would be in other countries. And that is just so far from the truth. And we cover that today. Kim Rogers, amazing guest. Absolutely love. My jaw was on the floor. I've been personally interested in personally studying human parasites for many, many, many years. And I learned so much. And I thought I knew a lot about this. Man, I can't wait for you to hear Kim today. She ended up developing a gentle, safe, extremely effective, and so safe that you can give it to children, parasite cleanse. It's very, very, very gentle, and it's effective. It gets those critters out of you and doesn't work against the body, doesn't disrupt your healthy microbiome. You can go to learntruehealth.com/parasites. That's learntruehealth.com/parasites and use coupon code LTH. She's giving us 10% off. Now, I have my kit coming. It's shipped to me right now. It's arriving any second now. And my husband and myself and our son, we are going to take it. And I'm going to report back to you guys and let you know what my experiences are. I'm going to be totally candid and share the good, the bad, the ugly. I hope I won't be too graphic, but I'm really looking forward to sharing with you exactly what's going on. Yeah, it's wild. The fact that you could likely be drinking parasites right now or bathing in them or brushing your teeth. If you use tap water, you're brushing your teeth. And this is like major cities where we think the water's clean. They don't even test for them. This we cover this. She's gone deep into the subject and researched it herself because she herself was poisoned by municipal water and had herself tested and had the water tested. She had to ship it off to special labs because major cities don't test for everything. And chlorine doesn't kill everything. So, yeah, strap in. This is going to be an interesting one. If you've ever eaten, raw food or walked barefoot or pet a dog, you could have a parasite. They could be living in you, and they can cause all kinds of symptoms that even have doctors perform major surgeries for. And we cover that too. So enjoy today's interview. Please share it with those you care about, those you love, those who may be struggling with illnesses that are mystery illnesses or illnesses that are just like chronic and they're not being able to get over them. So many times when we do a parasite cleanse, people overcome things that they never thought they'd overcome. And they get the brain fog goes away, they get their mental clarity back, they have better sleep, they have better energy, they have better mood, and even their hormones balance. Like crazy things happen. People go into remission from autoimmune conditions. Like, it's wild. And what I love, again, about this parasite cleanse is Kim made it affordable. In the past, my family and I have done cleanses, and it cost us $700-800 to do like a very short cleanse. And hers is gentle. It lasts for a very long time, like the bottles, the tinctures, and it's very affordable. So again, learntruehealth.com/parasites. Check it out. Enjoy today's episode. And happy 2026 and beyond. I'm super stoked for what I've got in the pipeline for you guys, and I can't believe that the year is 1/12 of the way over. Can you believe that? Of course, people could be listening to this 15 years from now, and just know this topic is still relevant. Parasites aren't going anywhere, and the more we understand that we are exposed to them and that they do impact our health, and that we do need to cleanse on a pretty regular basis to overcome them, the better our health will be. So with that being said, enjoy today's interview. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 564. I am so excited for today's guest. We have on the show with us Kim Rogers, the Worm Queen. Her website is rogershood.com. Of course, all the links that belong to Kim that'll take you to everything she does is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntohealth.com. Kim, how did you get the name Worm Queen? And it doesn't have to do with gardens. It has to do with another garden inside our body. Very excited about this.
So funny, right? Okay, so hi, my name is Kim Rogers and I'm known as the Worm Queen, and I got that name and crowned by TikTok when I went viral in 2021 over a parasite cleanse from another company, and I didn't want to be known as the Worm Lady. So my community crowned me the Worm Queen, and I've just been running with it ever since for the last 4 years. I make merch over it because, I mean, why not? With a worm with a crown on the head, you know. And who wants to talk about this stuff? I do. I love talking about it. I love educating about how to cleanse your body and clean your soil and just really get in there and figure out what's going on with your body. It comes from a personal position for me. So in 2019, I almost died. I now know that I had undiagnosed end stages of chronic Lyme. I have 11 active molds in my body. I was being contaminated over and over by our warm water where we were living and building a log home. And I had heavy metal toxicity from some crowns that were in my mouth, mercury poisoning. And so all of that combined and just compounded into my body, and it was slowly just killing me. So I decided to quit my job. My husband quit his job to be a caretaker for me, and we moved out to our recreational property in 2019 to say goodbye or to figure out what was wrong with me. We had already come to the conclusion that we were not going to get help from Western medicine. And when I say those things, I'm really meaning to say them in the nicest way possible, because I come from Western medicine. I hold 2 healthcare degrees. I was valedictorian in both of those healthcare degrees. I ran 25 healthcare colleges, built them from the ground up. I authored multiple medical books. I wrote curriculum. I served on national advisory boards. And there was one key thing that I was missing in life, and I was actually sick with it, which was parasites. And so I just really took a break from life and really sat down and figured out what was wrong with me. And I decided to share it with the world in a 60-second video that went crazy viral. And I've been doing this every day since July of 2021. So that's why I got the name Worm Queen.
So cool. So tell us a bit about this viral video. What happened in it? Like, you obviously didn't expect it to go viral when you put it up on TikTok, which is wild. That must have been wild, like just seeing all the numbers popping up. Tell us a bit about that experience, but also like what is in that video?
So basically what I did was I just said, I've been in Western medicine since 2004 and I've never dewormed myself until now. And I just said that they came out of my skin, which is what happened. They came out of my urine, and it was really a different experience because I had never really cleansed before. And I had had these pains on my right side. So I had stage 4 endometriosis and beginning stages of cervical cancer, and I had a hysterectomy when I was 29, and I've had 13 surgeries. So not only do I have a really amazing resume because I'm a high achiever, but I also was very ill in my own life. And so I figured out ways to assist myself while I was going through, trying to build my life with a chronic illness. And so when I went out into the woods, I started doing mushrooms to kind of help me figure out what was going on in my body. And I would share that on my TikTok account. Then I just got to a point where I still wasn't doing great. And the pain that was always on my side, that was an indication I needed a surgery, ended up making me look into something like parasite cleansing. So I was scrolling on TikTok. I came across this gal's video that said she almost unalived herself over worms. And I thought, oh my gosh, I should try that. I've tried everything else and I'm not at a good place still in my life. So I really wanted to see if that helped. And so I was just sharing my experience in a 60-second video, and 1 million people in 2 hours stopped and watched the video. And it was just, my phone shut off. TikTok didn't know what to do because, it was only about a year and a half old at the time. And there weren't a lot of people going as viral as this in life. And so my phone overheated, and I just looked at my husband and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm now known as the worm lady, and I don't want to be known as the worm lady.
So you showed pictures of what came out of you?
Not on those videos, no.
Okay.
No,
Okay,
I
you just said
just
it.
said it. Yep, I
Got it.
said, I've come from Western medicine. I've been in Western medicine since 2004, and I've never dewormed myself until now. And I had an experience that, unlike other people around me have had, they came out my skin and my urine. And come to find out, I had schistomiasis, which it's a parasite from fresh water that lives inside of your bladder and your kidneys,
Dude.
and it replicates endometriosis. And
Dude.
people have unnecessary hysterectomies because of schistomiasis. And that's actually on PubMed as well as the National Health Institute. That's where I found all of this information. And so as soon as I started going viral, I looked around at my husband and I thought, this is the best thing I could ever go viral over, though, because it's health. And I 100% can talk about health. I come from this world. And so I ended up really just running with it that day. As soon as TikTok let me go back on, so after around 2 hours that particular day, TikTok had tried to catch up with how viral I was going. I mean, I have like 10.5 million views just on that one video. At one point, when all of this was happening, I had 40 to 50 million views a month.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when you hear about parasite cleansing, it's because of me. I really want this to be a normal thing. I started
Yes.
researching other countries' ways that they parasite cleanse, and other countries parasite cleanse 2 to 4 times a year. We just don't in Western medicine countries.
When I was a kid, but teenager, somewhere around there, maybe 12, 13, my mom got the book Guess What Came to Dinner by Anne Louise Gittleman, and we did a parasite cleanse. I was an early teenager because the book came out in 1993, and we got tested for parasites. We had 3. I mean, but the thing is, testing is so limited, which I'd love for us to talk to at some point.
Yes.
But the ones that we actually were the ones they did test for, because they don't test for everything. Like, we just kind of assume, I feel like we assume, like, if there were parasites, there would be a test for it, and then we would know. And it's like, no, there are so many parasites they can't test for or don't test for whatever reason. But the ones they did, our whole family came back with positive for 3 worms. One of them was from being in Mexico at some point. We go down to Mexico, drink the water, eat the food, whatever. Even though we were like super careful, right? Like, eat cooked food, drink bottled water. We still got one. And then 2 from having cats. Just 2 from being cat owners. These are healthy indoor cats. You know what I mean? That were like, we had them since they were kittens. They went regular vet visits. We never saw worms in their poop or whatever. And yet, just owning pets, we got parasites from them. So we did a parasite cleanse with that Anne Louise Gittleman, talked about in her book. Anyway, years later, I'm doing this podcast, and I end up having Anne Louise Gittleman on my show. She's been teaching this stuff for like 40 years or something, but it's still not a household, like, common conversation. It's still not like MDs should be talking to
100%.
their patients.
It should be the first point of proactiveness when you have a chronically ill person.
Yes.
Everyone should be parasite cleansing 3 to 4 times a year. I mean, that's just a proactive state. We don't even need to have it be something studied. You should just have access to these herbs or a synthetic, and you need to know as like society that these things are so easy to catch. You go outside barefoot. You didn't pick up your dog's poop, or you walked where they went poop and it rained and you can't see it and there's eggs, and you pet your dog, they lick your dog. Cats have Toxoplasmosis gondii, which is a brain parasite that controls your mind. And you have roundworm, it's on our produce, it's in our salmon, it's in our raw meats. You shouldn't eat anything outside of your home that hasn't been prepared properly. Like there's so many layers that I think people start to get overwhelmed and then they didn't even know where to begin in Western medicine.
Yeah, right.
And so they've just kind of been like, well, I could be that. No, man, that is what was my problem. Like there's four major things that were my problem that were causing me to die. And at some point you got to stop and go, mold. I mean, it's everywhere, right? But how does my body respond to it? I'm being forced to shower in worm water because I had no idea that the water in our community was contaminated until I tested it. And I had to send all my stuff to Mexico. So I think just at this point, I want this to be a household thing for sure. You know what
So
I mean?
so hold on. You had to send your
Yeah.
water at your cabin. Like, is it well water?
It was community well water that.
Community
But
well
I gotta tell
water.
you something even next level. I also tested Seattle city water because we moved to Seattle while we were finishing our log
Oh,
home,
please. Oh,
and it
please. No, 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 no,
also
no. I live in
tested
Seattle.
positive
No,
for
no, 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 no.
nematodes.
Don't.
Really?
No, no,
I
no.
just left Seattle.
Oh my gosh. I live in
Yes.
Shoreline.
Yeah, I lived in downtown in Belltown
Okay.
and over in Pike, and it tested positive for nematodes because our country doesn't test the
What?
water for nematodes. It does
Okay.
not test for nematodes. It only tests for Giardia, D. fragilis, and Cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which kills puppies, which is what I had
Yes.
shutting my organs down. So I
What?
had parvo, and my husband had D. fragilis, and it came from the water because we lived in the rainforest. So we actually have a log home in Hoodsport, Washington. That's where all of this took place was in Washington when I
Mm-hmm.
got really ill. My husband worked in Bellevue and then he quit his job. I worked at the colleges there in Tacoma and Seattle. And I mean, I just cannot believe what I found out when I started digging in after I went viral. I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that there's two very inaccurate tests. One, my stool test is extremely inaccurate. And I sent the same stool to LabCorp as I did over to Mexico, which I use a company called Parasites. And they have testing in Arizona and in Mexico. And so my test came back negative at LabCorp, but positive at parasites.org. And they're the ones that told me exactly what was going on in my body. That's how I found this out. It was nothing from
What?
Western medicine. Isn't that wild?
Are you affiliated with them? Do you have like a coupon
Hmm.
code with parasites.org that you could give to my listeners?
Yeah, it's Rogers, I think. It's Rogers. I'll make
Okay.
sure.
And
But
Kim spells Rogers without a D. Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's like
Rogers.
it's the normal way to spell it, not the weird way. Okay, hold on, blowing my mind, backing up.
Hmm.
Parvo also causes miscarriages.
Yes.
So you tested the water in Seattle and found it positive for parvo?
No, I tested the water in Seattle and it tested positive for roundworm larvae, which is
Oh.
a nematode. So it's a physical worm. Our country does not test the water for physical worms, and they only test for parasites when there's a break in a pipe. It's not a standard everyday test. So that's kind of how all of this got started. We found out that we had parasites in July and through October. And then I continually kept cleansing and things were not getting better, which now I know it's not a one and done. You really do have to consistently cleanse 3 to 4 times a year and take anti-parasitic herbs pretty much every day or eat pumpkin seeds or something anti-parasitic because it is so common.
Mhm.
And when I then revisited, okay, well, maybe it's the water. Someone kept saying in my comments, so a lot of my guidance was inside of my TikTok account. And I had around
Wow.
10,000 followers at the time. And overnight, I got around 200,000. And so people were flooding me with information. You got to bind. You need to do heavy metal detox with it. You need to, and I got some Fulvic and I went viral over Fulvic because I had them swim out of my feet. And then, I mean, it was just a series of events where my mind kept being blown and blown. But then I was able, because I come from medicine, to decipher everything going on and then re-explain it to people in videos. And
Mhm.
so I was able to take what they were giving me for information and then make it into content for educational purposes. So this went on from July, August, September, October. Around October, the end of October, I had them swim out of the bottom of my feet. I was not doing much better. I really was suffering, and my husband was starting to suffer as well. And so I started to ask questions on my account like, what else can I be doing? How else can I do this? Right? And that's when I realized I just got to make my own kit. The company that I was talking about wasn't transparent. They were not giving me information about what was
Yeah.
actually in their kit. Here I'm trying to be very transparent with my now community of like 300,000 strong, and everyone's doing what I'm doing. And so I'm saying, do this. And then when I go to the company behind the scenes and say, well, why do you have natural ingredients? What's the caramel coloring for? Why aren't you just soaking your herbs? Is this a lab? What else is in your product? They wouldn't answer me. And
Mm.
so I stopped and I thought, I'm just going to do this myself because I've kind of had enough of everybody lying to us as human. And I'm just going to do this myself. And so then I really started digging in. I started finding out that I sent our water off to find out what was in our water. It came back positive. Then I found the company to send my stool off, came back positive. And I contacted the state of Washington. They didn't care. And I'm like, oh my God, like we're really on our own here, is what I said to my husband.
Wow. People assume that the chlorine that they put in the water just kills everything. They think their
Okay,
water's sterile.
I'm going to have you pick your job off the floor when I tell you this. Cryptosporidium parvium loves chlorine
Mm.
and
Mm.
thrives in it. It
What?
thrives in it. So all the chlorine in the world is not going to kill crypto.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Have you since talked to people who've tested water supplies in other major metropolitan areas?
Yes. 75% of our country's water is contaminated with nematodes.
Okay, explain what a nematode is to us.
It's the physical worm: pinworms, roundworms, threadworms, tapeworm, flatworm, hookworm, whipworm. So 75% of our country's water has come back positive.
But okay, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. 100%
Mhm.
again believe in parasites, but I'm just going to play a devil's advocate for the listeners. I don't see worms in my poo. I must
Yeah.
not have them.
Well, most of them are microscopic, so it's very difficult to see them.
Okay.
And it's very difficult to test for them. The reason why it's so difficult is they're literally in a biofilm, a hard shell like an
Yes.
eggshell. And so when you are going to get tested, one, they know they're a frequency inside of our body. They're alive inside of our body. They can control your mind. They can change your behavior. And so they're alive and they know when your frequency changes and you talk about them. They know it.
That's
So
wild.
you have to realize that they're evaders and they can burrow deep down inside, and you're only getting a glimpse of what's in your gut, not what's in your blood, your tissue, and your muscle. They live in our blood, our tissue, and our muscle. We just
Hmm.
all think they've lived in our gut. That's not the truth at all. They actually only appear in your gut when they're kind of ready to shed and when they've been exposed. So you're also only giving a 2-day snapshot of your gut. So I recommend when you're doing a parasite cleanse stool test is that you get usually 2 vials and you do 1 day in half of that vial and then put it in the fridge. See, that's another thing we were never taught is that you should refrigerate all of this. Don't leave it out. So you put it in the fridge. Then you get your second vial the second day and you scoop a little bit of your poop in that vial and put that in the fridge. Then your third day, you go and grab that first vial again and you finish out that vial with a third day of stool. Do the fourth day in the second vial. Now you've gotten 4 straight days of what the snapshot of your gut looks like that they can test. When you're just scooping your poop for 1 day, that you don't know what they you
Right.
might have eaten pumpkin seeds, you might have done some sort of anti-parasitic and made them go hide. So it's very difficult to test for parasites. And we don't really do a lot of testing over the full moon. We don't do blood test with it in the follow-up, which is so important because when you have a blood test like your EOS, which is eosinophils, when that's high, you've got parasites or mold in your body. It's your body telling you something's going on. And so Without this correct training here in Western medicine, how would we ever know any of this? And I know a lot of it because I've dug into other countries' ways, their medicine, right? Not
Yeah.
just Western medicine. I've looked at Germany. They're very well known for how they utilize antiparasitics for MS patients and how it's helped them a lot. And then Mexico is a huge example. And just because you go to Mexico and you don't come back right away with something going on in your gut doesn't mean you didn't catch something there. It can take months before something hatches. It can go dormant, and then all of a sudden you have a very stressful event, and you're sick and you're chronically ill and you don't know why, and they don't know why. Well, I used to go out of the country all the time. I worked for an airline. I'm sure I caught a lot of things when I went out of the country and it lay dormant. And then I had a stressful year, over the top. And all of a sudden now I'm declining rapidly. I'm living in mold. I'm being doused with worm water from Washington. And I've got heavy metals coming out of one of my crowns. So really, if you think about it, I'm going to the doctor and they're like, yeah, we don't know what's wrong with you. This is the way you have to live, Kim. And I'm like, oh, I'm not living like this. No.
That is a lot for someone who's never thought about parasites to realize we're not safe. It's in our food. It's in our
Yeah.
water. Our doctor doesn't understand. They're not trained in it. When we look at the medical system, because we were raised, we were educated by the media we took in and what our parents did with us. And Hollywood didn't really help us because they portray medical doctors as being the end all be all of medicine, right? And they're not trained in this. They have no clue. This is not taught. And if it is, it's kind of like, well, if someone came back from a different continent,
Mm-hmm.
and then they could have this like extremely rare thing, but it's not taught that it is very common. And we look at why medical doctors training has been um, formed based on the pharmaceutical industry and what they
Yes.
want the doctors to know,
Specifically
which
Pfizer.
yeah, and it's like if we have a population who are infected, they display symptoms that mimic other issues like exacerbating MS, for example, right? Or like you
Mm-hmm.
said, women have had hysterectomies that they did not need to have because it
Mm-hmm.
was actually a parasite problem. So it kind of sounds like I'm saying that there's a huge evil conspiracy theory out there. But when you look at all this information, you're like, you know what? It's been proven time and time again. I mean, the pharmaceutical companies have been caught basically saying, yeah, we're here to make a profit. We're not here to
Right.
like make people healthy, right? So of course they don't no one in the medical conglomerate will benefit from educating their patients on how to get healthier through killing parasites and avoiding them and healthy proper testing for them. It's just wild. This whole thing is wild. Like we have to take our health back
You
by
do.
our own means necessary, right? And so
Yeah.
this is why I do the show. Is like we have to be the ones to educate ourselves and go out and do this.
I don't purposely think that anybody is maliciously doing this anymore. I think they are starting to, because a lot of the people in Western medicine and doctors have this knowledge now. I've been very loud for 4 years. I have not been quiet, that's for sure. And I really feel like their patients need to have sovereignty over their own bodies and advocate for themselves. It's your responsibility as a human. However, it is also your responsibility as a doctor and or practitioner to have the latest information. And if
Right.
that means that you tell them they should go take these herbs for 30 days, and I made it a simple kit. It's 3 tinctures in a binder. I include instructions. It's the easiest thing you could ever do. You literally take it for 30 days, 3 to 4 times a year. I give you enough to do like 5 days in between your every 3 months. So in reality, if you have a case that's wild and you don't know how to help them, go tell them to cleanse a few times, because it's not going to hurt them. It's going to help remove heavy metals. It's going to help with their cognitive skills. I added herbs in there to help with getting zinc and magnesium in their bodies. Really, that's kind of where we're at with this. And I don't think that Western medicine should go away. I do, however, think that Western medicine is not going to heal you. They're here to save your life, and that's the bottom line. And when I worked in the field, which I worked in the field for decades as well as in academia, Pfizer owned us. Like, I
Mm.
straight out will say, like, I had Pfizer pins. They came and brought us lunch, gifts. They weren't allowed to give you cash, but they could do everything else, vacations, 5-star dinners. Like, seriously, it's wild what it looks like out there. And doctors don't want to veer from that, but not all doctors are like that either. You know what I mean?
There are doctors who are happy with the status quo because,
Hmm.
life is life, it's busy, and I've had a doctor who graduated from Harvard, and she came to the holistic side because she had a huge health issue that no one in Western medicine could help her with. So she had to heal her body with natural means. And that's when she kind of had that aha moment. She totally woke up, got pulled out of the matrix. And I said to her, why is it there's so many doctors who don't see that they're missing these tools, right? To help people with
Hmm.
really help them overcome. There's so many MDs that don't realize that they don't have the tools to help their patients heal their bodies from chronic illness. They just manage it. Meaning keep the illness, just manage it, but not actually heal or reverse it or get better. And she goes, listen, we spent, 12 years in school, $500,000, and we were basically told, like an indoctrination through through their medical training, that you are taught everything that is important. And if you're not taught it in this school, it's not important
Yep.
because you paid so much money and so much time that all this stuff you're not taught isn't worth knowing. And that is the, like I said, the indoctrination. But then a lot of medical doctors wake up when they see either their patients aren't getting better, and then one of them all of a sudden comes to the
Mhm.
clinic, and they're like, "How did you heal from that? You're not supposed to heal you're not supposed to reverse arthritis. You're not supposed to reverse, MS, or
Yep.
in their minds. You're not supposed to reverse diabetes. You're just supposed to always have it, and we just manage it with these drugs." And they're like, "No, no, no, no. We can actually heal the body." Right? So they either wake up from that, or they have a family member, a friend, or themselves go through a medical crisis. That's usually the thing. And then the MDs will wake up and come to the holistic side, right? I'm not saying
Yep.
throw away Western medicine. I'm saying we have to understand its limitations, and
Mhm.
we have to do this education for ourselves. So what you're saying is you got an easy kit. I love it. I've bought so many different, parasite cleanses, and I like that your kit is simple. It's got all the stuff. It has the binder. It has everything. Simple kit, affordable comparative to a lot of stuff out there that
100 bucks.
I spent once like $800 on a like a 1 week cleanse, like for each of us. So three of us got 1 week, and it was $800 after
What
like
can you
tax
do
and
in a
shipping.
week?
I
There's
know,
nothing you can do
like
in a
what am I
week,
gonna do in a week?
though. Like,
Exactly,
I think that
exactly.
that's the hard part about all of this is that we've been indoctrinated to think that it's all a one and done in life. And in reality, that's just not the reality. You know what I mean? It's just not realistic to think that you can only do one of these. Like, they're hatching like these things in your body, regardless if it's a parasite or mold or Lyme, it's legitimately hatching. And so you have to kill all of that off once it's hatched and released, all the things that are inside of it. It's like we talked about, there's the biofilm, and inside of that biofilm, that's their house. And you have to burn it down. So you have to bring in like a biofilm buster, which we brought in lungwort lichen. It's foraged and it helps break down the biofilm. And then you've got all the stuff that's in that house that you're exposing. So you got to kind of come in and chip away mold and Lyme and heavy metals, which that's why the pharmaceuticals do so well, is because their heavy metals that are inside of the synthetics are actually weighting the drug down. And so you got to go in and remove those heavy metals as well while you're doing a parasite cleanse, so that you can lighten the load that's inside of the body of the parasite. If you
Mhm.
just go in and do a heavy metal detox, you're going to lighten that load. And then what are you coming in to kill that frequency of the worm? So you have to do it synergistically. It has to be done all at once, or you could recontaminate your body. And that's what was happening to my husband and me. We literally were just causing more problems. We weren't binding. We didn't know what that was. Again, come from Western medicine. You give somebody charcoal back in the day in order for them to heave up any sort of alcohol poisoning, and or if they've overdosed. That's what we gave charcoal for, not a microdose of it to help bind positively charged toxins like a magnet to pull out of your body. So there's this system, and it takes longer than 30 days, in all honesty. I just wanted to make it super simple, super easy, so that people could gravitate towards it and want to do it. I didn't want them to have die-offs and feel like trash, because a bad cleanse is like a bad trip. You got to do it to get through it, but it's not fun while it's happening. So
Yeah.
and I learned a lot of this just from social media. There really is not a lot of things out there to give you this education. And I kind of started looking how Mexico does it. I really researched how the Amish utilize
Oh,
herbs and
yeah.
what they do when there is a group of them that are extremely ill and with stomach issues. They'll stick you in a milk bath. They'll fill a bath full of whole milk because of the sugar, and a tapeworm will come out literally out of
Of
your
you,
bone.
not of the milk.
Yeah, of you.
Of you. Like, of your skin or of your
It'll
bum?
come
Like,
out your
where?
butt. Yeah, it'll
Oh
come
my,
right out you have to
because
like
it
fill
wants to,
the.
does it wanna drink the milk? Like, what is
Yes.
it?
Yes. It wants
Wow!
to drink the milk, and you just pull the
What?
head right out. When you have a tapeworm, you gotta get the head. If you don't, it just
Yeah,
can reproduce up
regrow.
to 1,000,000 eggs a day. It has 46 uteruses inside of one of those segments.
Ooh,
It's so gross, man.
ew.
And the funny thing I always joke around about is that I come from urgent care as well, and I left urgent care because I hate parasites. And here I
Okay,
am.
wait, what? You saw parasites in urgent care?
Scabies, lice, those are all parasites. A
Okay.
definition of a parasite is anything that feeds off of a host.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
definition. But
Yeah.
then you have protozoas and nematodes. That's what I talk about on a daily basis. I mean, I've seen them in people's stool, especially kids that have pinworms, which are thread worms as well. And you can see them, you can really see them.
You cleared up some misconceptions or some, some myth. You did some myth busting here. Like, they don't just live in our stool, right? How many of us, like, raise your hand, did you think that little tiny worms only lived in stool, right? Like, that's a big misconception, that
Yeah.
they will mostly be living inside us. Like, when you think about the digestive system, the digestive system's technically outside our body, right?
Hmm.
Because it hasn't been absorbed into the body yet.
Hmm.
And so they live inside us, and then they will migrate to the stool, but they it's not like there's this barrier, right? Like, we think that there's this, like, ironclad barrier
Right.
between the outside world and the inside world. Our intestines is like the wall between our outside or inside is one cell wall thick. Like, it's not,
Hmm.
it's totally penetrable basically by protozoa and all the, the little guys that we don't want in there. So they live in biofilm, which basically means they go inside you and they build themselves a home. Now, what is biofilm? Because it's kind of hard to conceptualize if you haven't seen it. um, Go get a spoon if you don't own a tongue scraper. Go get a nice big metal spoon. And after you brush your teeth, I want you to scrape your tongue a few times. You're gonna get like up to a teaspoon of weird white yellowish stuff off your tongue, okay? This is after you brush your teeth. You can't brush it off with your toothbrush. That's just moving it around basically. You have to actually scrape. I recommend you go on Amazon and buy a $10 tongue scraper. It's life-changing. It's like this is so simple. Your mouth is not clean unless you scrape your tongue every 12 hours. So all the bacteria and fungus that live in your mouth grow to full capacity in 18 hours, and they build themselves a brand new city of biofilm on all your teeth and your gums and your tongue. And the reason why we brush is to destroy their city. That's why we brush every 12 hours. Like, yes, of course, we're removing little food debris, but that's the biggest thing, is we're destroying the biofilm that they built up on our teeth and our gums. That's why you should also brush your gums. And then you scrape your tongue. Now, tonight, when you go to scrape your tongue, notice how much comes off your tongue. Don't eat anything after you brush your teeth. Obviously, drink some water, go to bed. wake up the next morning, right? Less than 12 hours later, you're going to brush your teeth and scrape your tongue again, and you will get like half a teaspoon of stuff off your tongue. And you're like, wait a second, I thought that was food debris or whatever. That's biofilm.
Mhm.
That's the bacteria in your mouth growing a biofilm. Now, not all bacteria is bad.
Right.
You have good bacteria that's actually protecting your teeth from, being attacked by the bad bacteria. So you've got good and bad. That's why you don't wanna use a antibacterial wash in your mouth. I have a whole interview about this, but studies show that people that use, like some kind of mouthwash that kills an antiseptic, they have significantly higher rates of dying of heart disease or having heart attacks because the nitric oxide in your body is made by the good bacteria in your mouth. So, everything's a balance. You don't just want to
Mhm.
quote unquote, like drink bleach, right? We're not just trying to like wipe everything out. We're not trying to do some kind of like giant bomb, right? We have to work with the body to help the body heal itself. We have to work with it. So the biofilm, that's your experience of biofilm is what's in your mouth. Now, inside your body, the parasites can grow and do grow their own biofilm to protect little cities, to protect themselves.
Yep.
And also, whenever we have an implant, so I have a whole episode on this. I'm going to be interviewing a doctor soon that specializes in removing breast implants because of breast implant illness. But listeners can go to learnchild.com and type in breast implant illness. It's not just breasts.
Which I talk about that. We did a
Yeah,
podcast with Tammy with Aphora, and it's real. There's a
it's real.
biofilm that's around the breast
That's
implant
exactly,
that is
exactly.
hardened, and that's how it's able to keep that mold and parasites that's in the breast implants in there because it's
Yes.
around that hardened shell. And so, even someone who scrapes their tongue, just a little caveat of that, I want to, you know, give a little information. Anyone that has Epstein-Barr virus, they really need to be conscientious of scraping their tongue, and they should look at a vibration brush that
Ooh,
is a lot smaller than a normal brush because I have Epstein-Barr virus. And sometimes it goes into active and it's hard to get out. And so my holistic biological dentist told me I should not scrape my tongue, that I should use this vibration brush that's from like Sonicare and use that every morning to break down the
nice.
biofilm on my tongue. Because when you have Epstein Barr tongue, when you have mono tongue, or you end up having Lyme tongue, which I have Lyme in my mouth, it can actually cause the tongue buds to get damaged because it's in a flare. And so you
Mhm.
have to be conscientious that if you're in an EBV flare, you got to be careful about scraping. That's what I
Love
was
it.
told,
Thank you.
so that you
Yeah.
can really have it both ways. So I brush my tongue with a vibration little small sonic care brush. It's not like bristle brush. It's like a rubber antibacterial. And then I stick it in alcohol when I'm done. And then I stick it in a UV sanitizer light as well when I'm done with it, because you can cause yourself to continue to stay sick if you don't clean those
Oh my
out.
gosh, such a good point. That is such a good point to make. But just even understanding, like,
Yeah.
that you have an experience of biofilm and look how fast it grows.
Oh my
Just
God,
so
so
fast.
fast.
I can't
And
believe it, right?
the whole purpose is to keep everything internal. So it literally, I have a picture, and now I'm going to do a video when we get off this call because it's so important for people to understand. It almost looks like I've got a worm, and then it looks like it's just in a teardrop of water. It looks like this worm is sitting inside of like gel. That's what it is. It's a hardened biofilm shell that's clear that the worm is chilling in, and it's an entrance only. So everything you eat, everything you absorb goes through that biofilm and feeds what's inside of it. And you
Mm,
have to break that when you're doing a cleanse. Any cleanse, not just a parasite cleanse. Everything that is toxic has a biofilm wrapped around it. That's just from what I've researched, and it's really a detrimental thing when you don't realize that you're just kind of picking off the low hanging fruit when you're doing a cleanse if you're not breaking the biofilm.
I've also seen more recent studies about tumors and how when they test them, that
Hmm.
tumors themselves have a biofilm. And you just gotta wonder, like, how many tumors are are parasites, are the
Mhm.
body encapsulating parasites. I interviewed doctors Tullio Simoncini, an Italian general surgeon who discovered that upwards of 70% of the tumors he removed were encapsulated candida infections
Mhm.
and not, quote unquote cancer, right? Like with that, like
Mhm.
requiring chemo or radiation or whatever. And yet, so think about it. 70% of people out there with what they're being told is cancer and going for
Mhm.
traditional cancer treatments, it's actually a type of parasite.
Right.
It's a candida overgrowth. So
Yep.
he used a sodium bicarbonate solution and would inject it into the vasculature of the tumors, and the tumors would
Mhm.
melt away.
Well, because it's yeast and yeast can be broken down. And we all
Yeah.
have yeast in our body, but when it becomes overgrown, it's a parasite and it's called candida. And 100% of MS cadavers tested positive for tapeworm per Dr. Merkley.
Okay, I would love to know how many cadavers that was, like,
I'm not
and
sure. I
that
just have
was
that one.
yeah.
Yeah, she's been talking about it for years. I can't even do it on my account anymore because I got banned for a moment and I got my account back. I've had 26 social media accounts that have been taken away from me and banned, and I have a lifetime ban on Twitter. That's how much they don't want us to know about this wellness.
What?
Yeah, Ashley, it's crazy. I've had 26 accounts and I have a lifetime ban on Twitter. 2 months ago is when I got my last ban on the Rogers Hood Apothecary account twice. Twice in a month, we got suspended and then our account completely removed. But I have some friends and we were able to get it back. But yep, this is just not information that they want out there. I've been shadow banned. I mean, I'm constantly in trouble. At one point, I got death threats when this all started.
Wait,
So
what?
yeah, when I first started this 4 years ago, I got death threats.
That is wild.
They just don't want us to be healthy, and I hate saying those words because really it's not everyone. So when you say they, everyone thinks it's all of them, but in reality, it's just people that are just not willing to expand their horizons. Other countries do this. So that's
Yeah.
what, to me, when I went viral, that was what was so validating is I thought, well, Mexico does this. Okay, Amish do this. Guatemala does this. Korea
Yeah.
does this. Latin America does it. Jamaica drinks a tea every month called the Bush. Like, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? And then,
Well,
you go through the cycle of like, I'm grieving because I thought, how did I not know this? Then I felt bad because I never told my patients about this. Here I have had a unnecessary
right.
surgery because of this. Like, are you kidding
Oh,
me? And every time I dug into something else, I had parasites in 21, I had mold in 22, I had chronic end stages of Lyme that I found out after 30 years in 23. And in 23 I had heavy metal poisoning. Everything I thought I knew, completely wrong.
I'm in a Facebook group. It's like a huge Facebook group full of people sharing their parasite information, and you just can't join this group unless you're willing to have like pictures of pictures of the parasites that are coming out of people are riddled in this group. And there are so many people that have shared a picture of, get this, they're in the hospital, they have a catheter, and they share a picture of their catheter bag. Like, not just one, like, there are multiple that
Mhm.
take a picture of their catheter bag, and there's a giant white worm
Mhm.
inside the catheter bag, and they're like, "I just had a surgery. This just came out of me, and it's in the catheter bag." I'm like, there could be worms inside your,
Yeah. I have
inside your
30,000 pictures on my phone, Ashley. I have a 600-page parasite identification book of every single person that sent me pictures that have done the Parafy kit. I have 500,000 followers over on Facebook. Probably the group you're talking about is probably my group.
oh my gosh. Okay,
And
I'm gonna go
that one
find it.
has 200,000 followers in it, and it'll have my picture at the top. It's called the Parasite Identification. And I joined that with Dr. Jess Petros because she and I really bonded over this 4 years ago when I was first going viral. I just really needed a doctor to like hold my hand because I was mind blown while I was trying to tell people about this, living in the woods, building a log home, and chronically ill. So I was like, I need some help. So it really is something that needs to be talked about more for sure, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you should look. It might be me, it might not be my group, but I do have a group that has 200,000 followers and everyone shares pictures in it. You have to put them in the
Yeah.
comments, but it's crazy. I see worms every day. Every day we get at least 10 people sending us pictures, minimum. You just never know what you're going to open up in the DMs when you're looking in my DMs. We do have a team of like 10 that helps me with social media. And one of the questions when they come on is, do you get bothered by worms or poop? Because that's basically half your day.
My gosh. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I've always had this fear that I've liver flukes,
Oh yeah, I have
and
liver flukes.
I
Yep.
just, oh
Fatty
my
liver.
gosh.
That's liver flukes.
Right. Yeah. And
Well,
so,
they swim in and out of your liver, right? They're
right.
causing small micro tears in your liver while they're moving in and out of it. It's just like a scab on your skin. It's just you can't see it. And so as a human in your mind, if you can't see it, it doesn't exist, right?
Right.
So and I've gone viral so much because I show like, oh, look at the salmon, it has worms. I pick on salmon, I pick on chicken. I pick on eggs. Like every animal has parasites. It's just a given. You deworm your dog, you should deworm yourself. 95% of us, in my opinion, have worms.
I got a story. I got to share it. You
Yeah.
just reminded me. So, when my husband and I met each other 18 years ago, we were like the Brady Bunch of cats. Okay, I had two cats, he had three cats. We moved in together, and we adopted another cat. And so because it was left in our neighborhood, and it was wonderful. Anyway, so we ended up having six cats, and we loved them. And then one at a time, that we either rehomed them or they passed away, and we were just left. I had one cat that lived to be 20. I, loved her. And then we were left with two cats when we moved here to Seattle. And I just love them. I still miss them. One day, and we took them to the vet on a regular basis. They were indoor cats, and we fed them the best food. We just, we did everything possible to take care of them. Well, we had a friend of a friend that needed a place to stay for the weekend, and we didn't she said her cats had recently died, and we didn't think anything of it. What we didn't know is that her cats died of a parasite from fleas.
Hmm.
She still had the fleas on her body or in her clothing or whatever, and she infected our house. So our whole house then had fleas that she brought with her. One of our cats got very sick and we died quickly. We took him to the vet, and the vet tested him for everything they thought they could test for, couldn't figure out what was wrong, and the next week the cat died in my arms. And I was like, "This is so weird." So we got rid of all the fleas with like the diatomaceous earth and all that stuff. And but I found a holistic vet, and we took Moto, our cat that the last cat we had, to get. I was just like, I just want to make sure he's good because this mystery illness just hit our other cat, and I'm just really worried about him. And so this vet who had been practicing for like 30 years, holistic vet, they have in-house testing. They tested his stool, and he gives me a call and he goes, "Listen, normally I have my vet tech call, but first time in 30 years I've ever seen this. We test for everything. Your cat tested positive for a parasite that is not supposed to. It's only a dog parasite. It is not supposed to impact cats. It only affects dogs. It can't impact cats. So we don't know why, but now we know why your other cat died. So anyways, we got this special medicine, and our cat lived several more years. And I said to him on the call, I'm like, "So should I go get tested or should I take a medicine?" He goes, "Oh, no, no, this doesn't affect, it doesn't pass to humans." I'm like, "You just said it doesn't pass to cats,
Yeah.
but it just killed my cat.
Hmm.
Like, you just said this parasite is only for dogs, and yet it passed to a cat and we all got bit by the fleas. So like, did we also get it? So
Yeah.
how many times have we been bit by something, and we it, as a result?" So anyways, it's just like they're here, they're everywhere, and we
Hmm.
need to do something to bring that load down and flush it out. And you brought up that idea of like it could be in your body dormant, like a virus,
Yes.
dormant, and then when
That's what happened
something.
to me. In 2016, I had three grandparents die. My mom had cancer.
Mm,
My family and I, no contact for 7 years from 2016 until 2023, and it all stemmed because I was living in mold, had parasites, had Lyme, and I had a very stressful year, and everything got triggered. because they feed off of that energy, that low frequency, low vibration, not going to go and take care of yourself frequency. And so, even if you are, I've seen so many people that are the healthiest people. My best friend and my co host, Sam Bruno, she's one of the healthiest people I know, and she has threadworms. She blows them out her nose, and it's because they're in her lymph. So, you can be the healthiest person and do all of the things, and they can still live in your blood, your tissue, and your muscle, and you would never know it. I was a snowboarder. I ate so healthy. I roller derbied. I still had parasites. It's what caused me to be so chronically ill. So it really, they're equal opportunity offenders. They really are. And I think it's crazy that vet techs and vets don't stop and think, because I see this every day. They don't think, oh, well, it's a microscopic parasite that I thought I washed my hands good enough, but it wasn't an anti-parasitic wash or alcohol, and all of a sudden I
Mhm.
touched my face, I wiped myself, I touched my hair, any of it, it's on my shoe. Like, all of these things contribute to your body when you're going through stress or a chronic illness, it's contributing to it. And so what's great about the Parafite Kit and Rogers Hood is that we just say, just do this. Like, you don't have to come out with symptoms. It's just something to be proactive. And that's really where I want all of us to be. Is other countries are proactive. Mexico tells you to do this. In some places it's mandatory to do synthetics twice a year because it's so bad. You think, oh, I'm not going to drink their water. Well, I am certainly not going to drink the United States water. I don't even like washing my hands in the United States water. I carry a spray all the time. And I know when my body, and this is wild. So you live in Seattle. When I left my log home because I needed to get out in order for us to get the permit, the final, right? We built it ourselves. You have to get a final. You can't live in it while it's not finaled. Well, we did. And so we moved out to move downtown. So we moved over to Pike, downtown Seattle, and
Mhm.
I didn't have a filter on my shower, which I've always been really sensitive to water. I'm allergic to chlorine, and I've always had filters. But for some reason, my husband and I just went from the log home directly to the Seattle apartment that we rented. And I started to fall back into my old ways. And I realized halfway through that I did not have a filter on my shower. And so I was kind of regressing, like my skin was breaking out, my mental health was trash. And I realized that I didn't have a filter. So we tested the water, we sent it off, it came back positive for nematodes.
Mm.
I know without a shadow of a doubt that my first month and a half of living in Seattle is because I was being doused with their worm water.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
that's how much, specifically when you start to
Worm
clean your body
water.
out.
So, like, we think, okay, worms are bad, but it's actually what they're pooping that's the worst, right? Like, can we talk about why are parasites bad?
Well, because they absorb 90% of your nutrients and they can hold 6 to 8 times their weight in toxins like heavy metals and spores, and then when they go to the bathroom in your body, it's ammonia and it's just, other toxins that they're dropping in your body. So it's not just about how you have them in there, but they're absorbing nutrients, specifically
Mhm.
like a tapeworm, right? It's chilling in your stomach and then it grows up to 30 feet. And so that's down your whole intestinal tract. And then you got the head and it's absorbing everything. It's its own nervous system. It's hijacked your nervous system. So some of the symptoms of having a parasite is grinding your teeth, terrible skin, insomnia because they're nocturnal creatures. They wake up at 7 p.m. and they want to be fed. So if you're eating sugar, if you're eating after 7 p.m., if you're craving salt, mine craves salt. Not as much sugar as it is salt. If you're having funky dreams, like really they can like hijack you, right? And so if you're feeling not yourself and you have just a few of those symptoms, and you have IBS, it's because you have some sort of a toxin, more than likely a parasite inside of your body that has now reached a level where it's hijacked your lymph system and it's hijacked your nervous system in absorbing your nervous system into their nervous system. And so
Mhm.
they can control you. And it's a wild, wild thing. The best one I can describe that controls you is Toxoplasmosis gondii, which is the cat parasite.
Right.
And it's a microscopic parasite that goes into your frontal area and causes you not to have any fear and also be promiscuous. And the best way I can describe it is a mouse is the one that carries that, a mouse and a rat, and they're sexually attracted to the cat's urine, and they go and cuddle up to the cat because they have no more fear. And then the cat eats them in order for the next stage of toxo, which is an enzyme in a cat's gut. And then the cat poops it out and it's airborne. And now you've scooped the cat's poop, and they've just told us don't do that when you're pregnant. But they didn't tell us that the entire world, if you're a warm blooded animal, can catch toxo. We've just been led to believe that you can only catch it if you're a pregnant woman. But that's
Right.
just not true. Patricia Arquette has toxo and passed it to her daughter and found out while she was pregnant with her daughter that they both had toxo.
Wow.
Because all of this stuff can be transferred to your baby. And so it's really important to know, what's going on in your body, especially when you're going to get pregnant or you're pregnant.
I did an interview a few years ago where we spoke about different studies that they actually proved that parasites and certain, not just worms, but like certain bacteria. So we can, negative bacteria. So we can also consider that a parasite, right? Things that are living off you that you don't want in there. Create chemicals that are absorbed by the body past the blood brain barrier and hijack the brain to crave certain things. So in order to feed it, right? So it's like you said, if you crave salt or you crave sugar, like they are hijacking you because they create chemicals that tell your brain what to do
Yes.
so that they can survive.
Yes. I mean, people go to Mexico to get injected with Toxoplasmosis gondii so that they can be better fighters because it takes the fear away. So, I mean, it's just any what you're saying, it creates that mindset of it's been hijacked because you're not who you genuinely are, And so bacteria can do that. A lot of times it is yeast. A lot of times it's candida. I know I had been going consistently to a pain specialist and I was getting injections. I've had stem cell multiple times in my back. I had local stem cell, which means they removed my own adipose tissue, spun it down, injected my stem cells back into my body, which I don't really recommend that. It was more painful to heal from the lipo where they removed the fat to make my stem cells than it was to go get an umbilical cord stem cell, which I had done through IV. And all the while, it's literally pain from candida in my hip. It's what it is. Because as soon as I started doing candida cleanses consistently over the last 3 months, the pain is gone. It's an emotional thing as well as an overgrowth of yeast. And so it really is crazy how you can have these things in your body and just be like, oh my gosh, is that what it is? Well, I'm going to go find out by doing a parasite cleanse for 30 days. And if all of a sudden I start to feel better, well, that could have been a root cause.
And listeners can go to learntruehealth.com/parasite to get your cleanse, very affordable cleanse, and use coupon code LTH to get 10% off. What if they start to feel worse during it? Then
Usually that's
then
die-offs.
that's die off, right? Because
Yeah.
okay, if someone, let's say hypothetically, doesn't have parasites, right, and they take your kit, will they
Oh, it's
experience
fine.
symptoms from the herbs, or will they
Yes.
feel like will they feel bad?
More than likely you've got something in your body that my kit's going to help you with. So it's a parasite cleanse, it's a heavy metal detox, and it's a candida plus bad bacteria, and it helps replenish good bacteria in your gut while you're taking it, and then you're binding at night. So more than likely you've got some sort of mold spores that it's going to pull out. For sure you have heavy metals. We all have heavy metals. I use cilantro, that's my heavy metal detox herb. Everything I use in my kit, you can eat it. Clove, garlic, wormwood, black walnut hull, Oregon grapefruit, usnea, lungwort lichen, all of these herbs are edible. and the way we process them in our 14,000 square foot manufacturing facility, we built and customized ourselves in the last 4 years because we want full control over what we're doing. We never want to hand this over to a lab or someone who's not willing to continue to have full transparency. So we're just doing it ourselves. We soak the herbs for 5 to 8 weeks and we process the tinctures like a tea. And so it's
Hmm.
really a simple process. You soak them in alcohol for 5 to 8 weeks, and then you pull out the water soluble herbs that pull out water medicine like a tea, and then you mix them together and you make a tincture. And you take these 3 tinctures 3 times a day, 15 drops a day for 30 days. And then you take a binder we call cinnamon, which is Ceylon cinnamon and coconut activated charcoal, and it helps bind whatever the herbs pushed out of your body. It helps bind it and move it out of your stool versus it potentially going out your skin and your eyes and your nose and
Mm.
your mouth. I mean, it's pretty crazy when you're infested and then you start making them aware that you're aware.
Hmm.
You'll start acting crazy. They'll start acting crazy. And then die offs is your body's way of not reabsorbing the toxins that they're dumping. And so when I was going viral, I figured out like, oh my gosh, okay, so I need to do a heavy metal detox because they're dumping heavy metals into my body. So then I'm like, well, why not just bring in a heavy metal herb? You know, why not bring something
Hmm.
in that's going to actually like work synergistically with the wormwood and the Oregon grapefruit. And that's what die-offs are. They're just your body's way of protecting itself. You get headaches, you feel nauseous, you have diarrhea or constipation. You start to kind of get really mentally unstable in a sense because you're sitting there going, okay, what's going on? Well, they're releasing trauma memories, they're releasing toxins. And so I really did my best when I was creating this cleanse that it would be a lot calmer than what I went through.
Yeah, nice. But to clarify, if someone doesn't have
Oh
any
yeah.
of that, so they let's say they don't, magic person doesn't have heavy metals, doesn't have any parasites. If they took your kit, would they experience side effects simply from taking these herbs, or they wouldn't feel anything?
More than likely, they wouldn't feel anything.
Right? Because I think
That's
the
like a
first.
unicorn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no,
Yeah.
no, that's what I'm saying. Because I think, like, the question then when you take the kid is,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm feeling poopy." Is it because these herbs just make everyone feel poopy, or is it
No.
because no, I'm just, like,
Yeah.
clarifying for the listener. It's because you're feeling poopy from the dying off, the killing of it, and
Yes.
so that's why you want to also, like, consider there's a diet shift as well that can benefit. Make sure you are
Mhm.
drinking enough water, like 2 cups of water an hour from waking up to dinner time is what I recommend. It's better to get, like, a consistent throughout the day rather than, like, "Oh, no, I didn't drink water today," and then you, like, chug a gallon, right? Like, it's better to consistently get 2 cups an hour. So think 1 cup an hour from waking. You could if you're a bigger person, you can or you're sweating a lot, you could drink more. It's better to get consistency. So you gotta get water in you, eat a higher fiber diet. I'd love to get your take on what you think are good diet changes, but I recommend, reducing or eliminating processed foods,
Yeah.
sugar, flour. When you cook with salt, just add salt. Don't cook with salt on the stove. Have salt on the table and just salt to taste, just because your body actually will tell you how much it needs. So, like, the people around the dinner table all need different levels of salt, right? So, and you could even reduce it to the point where you're just getting exactly your body needs. You don't have to oversalt. But really, really, really looking at whole food, like a
Yeah.
single ingredient. So I like to soak my beans or my lentils, cook them in the Instant Pot. I like to make some potatoes or yams or sweet potatoes, right? And have some kind of steamed vegetable or roasted vegetable. These are high fiber foods. That's also going to help bind the toxins and flush it out of you, which is going to help mitigate those die-off symptoms. What are your recommendations for diet changes or things you can take away or add that are really important, especially during a parasite cleanse? And then I also want to ask, what do you think about fasting or doing some kind of additional support to
Mhm.
the gut, like a 5-day water only fast or a juice fast, or some people consider what I just said a fast where you're fasting from processed food.
Well, we've got two free cookbooks. We have a cookbook that is the strictest you can have, which is Candida, and that's no sugar, no meat, no carbs, no alcohol, no processed food. You're very basic. It's 123 pages of recipes from the community, and you can add, meats in there. And then we did a 30-day cookbook that breakfast, lunch, and dinner that has meat in it because I found over the last few years that you really do want to have a protein that's meat based when you're cleansing, just to give your body a little more energy because it's going through a lot while you're using these detox type of herbs. So I recommend people just doing the best that they can their first few cleanses. Don't be super stressed on yourself because that's just going to add even another layer of what doesn't need to be done. You just need to really take the herbs the first 30 days is what I recommend. And then you can fast. Fasting is great. Not changing anything. The way that I design the Parafy kit is it's like a supplement. You take it every day for 30 plus days and you continue to do that 3 to 4 times, throughout the year. I didn't want to make it crazy. And as far as the food goes, when you change your diet and when you do fasting and you start to eat right, one, you're going to want to do that. They're in our mouth, and so they're controlling what we're thinking about food. And so you're going to see that your wants of bad food is going to go away. I have completely changed the way that I look at food. I had a terrible food relationship. I had an eating disorder. And so I know what that feels like in your mind. And so I feel like when I take my herbs, those type of thoughts, the food noise really calms down a lot. And that has a lot to do with the usnea that I added into one of our tinctures. And that's because it's like helps curb your appetite and not make you hungry. They'll make you want to continue to eat bad because that's how they thrive. They thrive on sugar, they thrive on bad processed food, they thrive in that. So they're going to make you want that in order for them to survive. So the more you cut down on the toxic and processed foods and the not organic foods, then you're going to feel better. But I really do encourage people to just take the herbs first, because I feel like the thought of, oh, I'm going to do a parasite cleanse is already so overwhelming that
Hmm.
you really do need to take certain steps of just, okay, I'm going to do this first. Okay, I'm going to do this first. And, we've sold over 300,000 kits in the last 4 years, and we have over 1 million followers. And I would say that this is the number one topic that people come at me and say, that's the hardest thing, the food. And I'm like, oh, I know. But as you keep taking these herbs and as you keep removing the toxins that are telling you to eat the sugar and
Right.
telling you to eat the salt, you will start to do it. I was a huge sugar lover. I had a burger and ice cream on my first cleanse. And I'm like, I don't even eat that way. What's going on with me? And so that's when I realized, my God, they're making me eat this way. Even my
Yeah.
niece who was visiting me when I was doing my first cleanse before I went viral, she was like, Kimmy, you don't even eat burgers and ice cream. And I'm like, I'm starving for them. And she's like, I'm not complaining. I love it.
Yeah, like, that's interesting. So when you start taking the cleanse, just, like, journal what and when I say
Yeah.
journal, I don't mean, like, dear diary. Like, you don't have to, like, write paragraphs. It could just be, like, I open up my phone, and I have, Google Keep or whatever little note-taking thing, and I love saving notes and just, like, keeping track of stuff because you think you'll remember, but you will not. If you do any health changes within the next 3 months, you will not remember what your health was like 3 months ago unless you write it down because when health changes, it gets
Yep.
better, right? Then you forget. You forget what made it better. You forget how worse it was. So it's good to just keep notes. I like to keep like a symptom inventory checklist. And that's in my book, by the way, little shameless plug there for Addicted to Wellness book. But yeah, it's really important to keep track because you swear you'll remember, but I
Yeah.
promise you won't. I had two clients both forget they came to me to resolve chronic migraines. Within, like, less than 6 months, they had not only we got the migraines to go away very, very quickly because we made the right changes, but then within less than 6 months, they both completely forgot that's the reason why they came to me in the first place. Because we just forget, but when
Yep.
we have it, it's a major issue. So when you start to get better, it's like you just forget, right? And it's so good to take these notes. So if you're doing the parasite cleanse and you start craving foods or like you start,
Mhm.
feeling a little crazy or maybe you feel like you're normal, but everyone else is crazy. Like that's usually
Mm.
when I realize like everyone's irritating me. I'm fine. I feel great.
Mhm.
Everyone else is being weird. I'm like, nope, it's probably me. And so yeah, keep notes. Like, what are you craving? And also it'll help you to overcome those cravings, to think it's not me craving it. It's the
Yes.
things trying to control my brain, and I can override that because I'm the one making the choices, right? Like the parasites aren't, grabbing my purse and keys and, like, getting in the car and driving to Big Burger or whatever, right? Like, they're not the ones doing it, like, they're just trying to convince me to do it. So, luckily, we are in control, but especially this'll just help knowing, "Hey, there's something living in your body that
Mhm.
is trying to hijack your brain," and you're like, "Not today, Satan. Like,
Right.
you don't
That's
have any
true.
power over me. I'm controlling the show and kicking you out of my body." Kind of feels like they're, like, demonic.
They are. They
Have
are
you
in a
explored
sense.
that?
Yeah, and I also talked about, so I've done a lot of podcasts, probably like 250 over the last 2 years. I feel like going into people's communities and really helping them understand. And one of the communities that I went into was an addict community. I also was an addict in my teens. And so I realized that like you're not just trying to kick the habit, but you're trying to kill something inside of you to kick that habit as well. And so if
Mhm.
you think about it that way, is that it's not just you. It really is an alive thing inside of your body. But I just noticed that whenever I start taking my herbs and I'm starting to have really crazy feelings, and I'll write them down. We do have a free, you can print out a free symptom tracker, that it's like a 6 week symptom tracker that you can print out. Everything I have in my link tree is free. The only thing I do is sell my kit. And that just helps support what we're doing in a movement, and just really trying to focus on, people's health. I
Mhm.
mean, once I figured this was my problem, it was just a game changer. I felt valid, I felt validated. It was really a lot when you have even your colleagues looking at you like you're crazy. And it's like, I'm not. Like, something's wrong with me. I know it.
And this is what we've been missing. This
Yeah.
is like the missing link, right? And
Hmm.
I've had so many people say, "Where do we start?" Right? Because it's like, what is the top priority? Like, do you jump in and immediately do a parasite cleanse, or do you do a, like, some people say, well, we should prep the system first. We should clean up the diet, and we should do like a gut reset, and we should do like add binders first before we start killing, and we should do some kind of lymph thing. And like, where do we start? Like, what is the top priority? And because there's so many changes we need to make at once, like, what's the right order to support the body and eliminating it the best way possible without having major repercussions from too much die off, for example? Like, do we need to spend some time prepping the liver to handle the load of the toxins that are going to occur when the die off happens?
I say you got to do the three P's: peeing, pooping, and perspiring. Once you start to conquer that, and that's not perspiring like randomly sitting there sweating. When you go into a sauna, you should be able to break a sweat. I was not a good sweat person. It took me a really long time, but I still cleansed, even though I wouldn't, perspire as much as I would like. But I was going peeing and pooping consistently. When you get backed up, that's actually can be a symptom of a parasite, being constipated. And so I will give tips like put some castor oil on your abdomen and use a red light, and it'll help move it along. Use
Mm,
cream of tartar is potassium, which is a stool softener. Put that in a cup of coconut water and shoot it a couple of times throughout the day to allow your stool to soften. Don't take the binder if you're constipated, because you're trying to, get rid of things, and binders can bind you up. So there's like little tricks that you can do to help yourself when you aren't the three P's: peeing, pooping, and perspiring. But
mhm.
I say just take the herbs. Honestly, you can do tinctures where it's just 5 drops instead of 15. You can do them once a day. You can add them to water, and they're just a lot more gentle. I've heard from all the people that have done our kit, we are the most gentle and most effective because they're tinctures, because it absorbs into your mouth right away. It's not fighting with your stomach acid. And I've
Mm.
heard from a lot of people, including my sister, who's also constipated very often, that she actually becomes regular when she does my cleanse. And that's because you're trying to regulate what is attacking your body and giving that energy back to the parts that have been lacking. So when you have insulin issues, right, your pancreas has been taxed. When you give that a little more energy to your pancreas, it's going to act right. When it's in a constant fight or flight, it's not acting right. So when you're able to just reduce a little bit of toxins in your body, like heavy
Hmm.
metals or candida, you're actually giving energy back to your body in order for it to work again correctly. And so a side effect is constipation. And so we just say, okay, don't take the binder for a minute. Just be really conscientious. Make sure you're pooping. Here's what you need to do to get that going. I feel like because this is such an overwhelming process that we've made it a little more extreme than it really needs to be. Get the herbs in you, start eating right. Your body's going to follow suit. Just take it 3 times a day. Just be really conscientious about if you stop pooping, stop the binder. And so it's really that simple. It really is a simple process. I just think that we've created an overwhelming amount of information than just take the herbs.
Okay,
Does that help?
yes, yeah, I have some follow-up questions.
Yes.
I have several, so I'm just gonna bang them out.
Okay.
Amount. There's been, I've been in this parasite, world like you,
Hmm.
really super interested in it for years. So I've heard this. If you don't take the right amount, you run the risk of aggravating them. Like you're not, if like, let's say I did, okay, you said 15 drops, so I only did 5, or maybe I'm a bigger person and like 15
Hmm.
drops wasn't enough. Or maybe I'm giving it to a kid. So I don't know, like lower the dose, or like, 250-pound woman and a 400-pound man, are they going to take different? So anyways, the point being, if you take too little, the parasites don't die, they get aggravated, which then, and this is again, please bust this myth if I'm incorrect, and it aggravates them and stimulates them to reproduce more or go into a more defensive mode, and so it can actually make things worse. Is that true? How do we know the sweet spot of how many drops to take, or how much of an herb to take to help the body kill it without running the risk of aggravating it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's mainly you're not collecting the eggs from behind. They're always going to leave eggs on their way out. So that's why you put things like clove and black walnut hull and Oregon grapefruit. So that when they're dumping their eggs on the way out, those herbs are kind of sitting on the sideline waiting for their time to do their job. So it's
Okay.
literally strategic. You're going in, you're killing off the biofilm, you're exposing them, and then you're burning down the remainder of their house with them in it with all the herbs. So it's not a matter of how much you're taking, it's a matter of, are your herbs synergistic? Are you
Mhm.
coming in and releasing the heavy metals, which will release more of them, which in fact makes them frightened, so they stop, so they start to dump their eggs. So that's where you bring in that black walnut hull and that clove to move those eggs out that they just dumped while you're killing them off and killing off mold spores that they're also dumping. So you have a system that you have to take the herbs in. And it's not even a matter of how much the herbs, it's what herbs you're taking in order for you to move them out.
Got it. And I love that you mentioned that part of the system that works so well is that it's tearing down the biofilm, because that's where they hide. They're
Hmm.
hiding from our immune system, and that kind of follows into my next question is, why doesn't the body just kill them? What defenses do we have against them? And is it the biofilm that helps it hide
Hmm.
from our immune system? Because that's the theory about cancers. Why doesn't the immune system fight the cancer? Well, part of it is the tumors have its own biofilm that's like helps it hide from our
Hmm.
immune system. Is that the same is
Yes.
that the same in this regard? Can the body fight parasites?
Yeah, it does fight parasites, but it gets tired and then it doesn't recognize the biofilm that it's around.
Mhm.
And so when your body starts to rev up and realizes that this is an invader and something is going on, it's because they've exposed themselves and then your body acts. So your body is reacting the best of the ability it can, like grinding your teeth. Why is it grinding the teeth? Because it absorbed all of the magnesium and calcium. That's why your body is grinding its teeth. It needs that in order for your nervous system to calm down. And so your body's like, something's wrong. I'm going to grind the teeth to get your attention. And we're just like, oh, it's stress. No, it's because you have lack of magnesium and calcium in your body. And why? What's the root of why you have a lack of magnesium and calcium? What's the root of why you have anemia and you lack iron? Well, because you have a hookworm. Like it's science. They're absorbing the iron. It's weighting it down. It's acting like it's your vein. So it's absorbing the iron and then leaving you with a little left over, causing you to have anemia. You're feeding your body
Gee,
more iron, and all it's doing is just giving it to another parasite. Your levels are still the same, and you're getting iron transfusions. Well, because literally a hookworm looks just like your vein and rolls right up against the vein, acting like the absorbing vein. And so what's the root of why? That's the part we've gone away from, right? That's the part that Western medicine has kept us from, is what's the root cause of all of these wild symptoms.
wow. Frequency medicine.
Oh my God, you totally just read my mind. I was just going to say, I want to so badly talk about how these are literally a frequency. And the best way that I
Yes.
have gotten people to understand this is when you're at an opera and you hear the opera singer sing to a point where she can shatter a glass or he can
Yep.
shatter a glass,
Yep.
that's because their voice got to the same frequency as that glass. All I did was realize what the frequency of each one of these ailments were, and I brought in that herb to shatter that frequency, just like the opera singer sings and shatters the glass. So when I
Yes.
realized that I have heavy metals in my body, I immediately went and researched what herb. That's all Big Pharma does. That's all we did. I helped design some MS drugs back in the day. And all we realized was, what is the frequency of the ailment and what is the frequency of the DNA structure of that, so we can shatter it. So when I realized that I had small intestinal parasites, my favorite herb is Oregon graperoot. Well, I'm going to bring Oregon graperoot on board. I'm going to get rid of the small intestinal parasites by shattering the frequency of that ailment. And so when you realize that everything in our body is light and frequencies, you'll realize that everything we bring into our orbit, into this body, is light and frequency. And so once you realize what the ailment is and you're able to support it by bringing in that frequency to shatter it, you'll know what your root cause is. And for me, I know what my root cause was because I had parasites. The mold, I mean, I found out a year after. So I had to bring in mold frequency herbs, right? And so when you realize that that's all this is about, is that it's a
Uh-huh.
frequency inside of our body that is misaligning our normal frequency that we need to have at a homeostasis level. We need to vibrate at a homeostasis level every day. You wake up in the mornings and you're pushing a boulder up a hill because you're immediately starting in a negative frequency because you've got these frequencies inside of your body. And so when you start to remove those frequencies that are causing your frequency to drop, you're going to feel better. So if you look at it in a bigger way than just this is medicine and we have parasites, no, we got something in our body that is a frequency that is causing us to vibrate at a different level than what we're supposed to be vibrating at. And that is what we're seeing around us every day. You will actually have a much better understanding of how, when you take the Parafy kit or you take the lymph kit, how you're going in and vibrating your frequencies at the higher frequency levels.
I love it. I've had several episodes about frequency medicine. Really good quick book, like an easy quick read is The Cancer Cure That Worked, talking about Royal Rife and how about
Mm-hmm.
100 years ago he figured out what the frequency of certain things were, like certain, like cancer for example, or a
Mm-hmm.
bacteria, and he could explode it
Mm-hmm.
by hitting it with the opposite frequency, creating like the sine wave, right? So it's like it nullifies it, explodes it. And the government with Big Pharma came in and stole all of his stuff and said, "No, you can't
Mm-hmm.
do this." Well, his work, his it secretly lived on, in the holistic community, he was able to pass on his notes on different frequencies, and it's been used in frequency-specific microcurrent, which I have several episodes on, like with the vibe and,
Well, I liked Healy. I use
mhm,
Leela Quantum with that frequency.
mhm.
Chi Coil, I used them for a while. I use PMF mat. They're all
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
frequencies. And so I had a mini stroke in January of 2021 before all of this, before I went viral in July. And it was because I had mold and I got off of my Klonopin too fast. And so I had a stroke. And I use frequencies and subliminal messages every night since 2021. I listen to them when I go to bed. I put them in an EMF bag so that I'm not exposed to it. But I listen to frequencies every single night to regulate my nervous system and to give me a more positive outlook and to give me
Mhm.
a more positive feel when I wake up in the mornings. I make my brain work at night when I'm sleeping because it's still aware. It's still, things are still going on in it, but frequencies are like the best. I mean, we need to do
Yeah.
more frequency stuff.
Yeah. So there's this foot bath that it's called the Platinum Energy System. I have like 5 interviews with the woman that sells it up in Canada, and she's amazing. Kellyanne Andrews, platinumenergysystems.ca is her website. She's awesome. And I have a very long story about how cool it is, like that, a very serendipitous, like God stepped in, divine intervention to hook us up. But I had heavy metal toxicity. I was extremely sick. And I was able to use her device, which sucks heavy metals out of you, using frequency. And I know it sounds just wackadoodle, right? But it freaking works. It is so cool. Well, I started talking to other practitioners that I introduced it to, and they had these crazy experiences. They'd sit with their clients while their feet were in the device, and one practitioner I'm friends with saw worms coming out of her client's eyes, like crawling out of her eyes, like she was crying worms, live worms crawling out of her body. And then that same practitioner had another client had worms crawling out of the woman's skin, like around her belly button,
Hmm.
and she had the water tested, um, and there were parasites in the water, like, because 'cause they're coming out of the person's feet, create a certain frequency, the parasites can't even handle it, and they're trying to get out of us, just, like, crawl out of us, and that's just wild to think about. So I love that concept that your parasite cleanse is hitting them at that frequency.
Yes. And that's why I added the herbs that I added. They're just also the nutrients that you're not normally getting on a daily basis that you're getting when you take the Parafy kit. I think we just in our minds think, oh, parasite cleansing, right? And people get all freaked out. But really, you're putting herbs into your body with nutrients that your body may never have seen or felt or absorbed. Like
Right.
it really is something that I feel like people just, oh, I'm just going to take some wormwood. No, like you have to do it in this particular order. And that's what I learned. So, going back to the beginning of this conversation in 2021, when I started going viral, I only took wormwood and garlic and clove. It was a $30 cleanse that I got off of Amazon, and it really messed me and my husband up. It was rough. And
Mm.
so I realized, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm going to take this cleanse, I'm going to add Oregon grapefruit, and then I'm going to add in a heavy metal zeolite, and then I'm going to bind. By the time it was done, after months of me talking about it, I was very lucky that I had these companies sending me stuff because one, I had no money. Literally, I made my husband and I bankrupt because I was so medically ill. And so I had all these companies send this to me. And in good conscience, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like $250 to do this per person for
Mhm.
30 plus days. Who has that kind of money? So then I looked into another company, Cellcore, which I love Cellcore.
Mhm.
They're a good company. $100
Yeah,
a
that's
month
what I was
per
talking about. I
person.
had I
I'm like,
had him on
and
my show.
26 pills.
It's
I'm
crazy. Right.
no, thank you. I have pill
Yep.
fatigue. So it just started to compound and be like, oh, well, you got to do all of these things while you're cleansing. And it's very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming understanding it all. And in society nowadays, we just need to be handed something and told how to do it and have instructions and just have a better way of doing it. And so that's really what made me start Rogers Hood was that, well, my name is Kim Rogers and I love finding helpers like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And so I really wanted to find something for my community that would be a simple and easy thing to do with all of the herbs so you don't have to think about, oh, wait, did I add the heavy metal detox herb in there, kind of lightening them up and causing them to not be weighed down anymore? Okay. And it was just overwhelming, to be honest with you. And I come from this world and it was overwhelming for me.
So you have a kit that's $100,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a starter kit that's 255. Explain the difference. Does it should everyone do the starter kit, or can we just do the $100, the Parify kit?
Yeah, you can just start with the Parafy. So last year, 3.5 years, I had people say, I need to move my lymph. I need to move my lymphatic. So over those few years that I've been reading everything and understanding what people were asking, I created a lymphatic kit. It also has lime herbs in it that help move the lymph and kill Lyme out. And so it's not a full Lyme cleanse. You still need to do some other herbs to help with your Lyme, but it does help get you prepared for the Parify kit. You take it 2 weeks prior to the Parify kit. You can keep taking it while on the Parify kit, and then you take it after. So it's a wellness kit. It has lion's mane in it, so it helps with cognitive skills and helps move the herbs. Well, most herbs don't cross the blood brain barrier, but lion's mane actually does cross it, and
Mhm.
anything that you're taking with it. So it's like the school bus driver, and all your herbs are the students on the bus. And so it's driving these herbs across your brain barrier and allowing it to absorb throughout your entire body. I also found that turkey tail, a lot of people don't understand that particular mushroom. And for me, turkey tail and lion's mane helped put me into remission for my endometriosis. Turkey tail mushroom helps break down scar tissue and helps break down tumors. And when you have these type of root cause issues, you have like a form of a tumor inside of your body because of that biofilm. And so you need something to go in and chip away at it. And turkey tail does that. So I do recommend that if you're just going to start out wanting to cleanse, lymph kit is you're going to be your best bet. It's very gentle. It does have some anti-parasitic herbs in it because the tincture called Sustain has Oregon grapefruit, which is an anti-parasitic, which helps break down small intestinal parasites like pinworms. It is our pinworm tincture that I do recommend someone taking at least every day for 6 months if you have pinworms. And that's just to help your body rid them and keep them away. So it works as a proactive defense versus you being a reactive society, which is where we're at. We're a reactive society. We're running around going, oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with me. And you're throwing everything, at it, going, okay, maybe this will help. And you got side effects from this. And so I really wanted to create a kit that one would get you in the groove of taking 3 tinctures in a binder with our instructions and then gently ease you into the Parify Parasite Cleanse kit in order for you to be able to not have as big of die-offs because you have moved your lymphatic, you have boosted your brain function, you have allowed the brain fog to kind of go away, and now you can take a little more control over what you're eating and soaking your produce. And it really is just kind of a more gentle way of understanding how to cleanse your body. That's what the starter kit is. But if you just have the finances to do a parasite cleanse, then the Parify kit's going to be your best. I just give different options because this is new to so many people and they can go in and they can read, well, maybe I don't really need to have this right now, but I desperately need a parasite cleanse. And so I want everyone to have that ability to decide for yourself because that's something that has been taken away from us, that sovereignty over our own health. We have given that energy over to people that just don't have the same knowledge. And, you get 5 minutes with a doctor and then you're done. And I'm sorry, this might be a little harsh, but they're moving on to the next patient. And so really it's up to you to have a better understanding of what you need to put into your body. And then you can go and collab with them and have a
Mhm.
better understanding of how they're going to work in your life and your health journey.
Mhm. Love it. Kim, this has been amazing. I hope everyone is on fire to do to do a parasite cleanse. Just get the $100 kit. Like if you know
Mhm.
what's like what can you imagine what good could happen if you all of a sudden like stop having all these crazy symptoms, or even people who are just like only have brain fog or only have energy
Mhm.
issues. Like, maybe you just got to overcome a little parasite, infestation versus the people who are like having major, major, major issues. But also, like farmers, when you look back and, you talk about like the Amish, for example, but if you talk to farmers, they'll say that they do
Yeah.
parasite cleanses with their animals, and the farmers themselves do it too, like 2, 3 times a year
Yeah.
because, I mean, they understand, they see the benefit, and it's something that because we are so disconnected from where our food comes from and from
Yes.
farming itself, but, it's a very old practice that if you grow and raise your own food, you do parasite your animals do parasite cleanse, and you do it as well. And like you said, every other, so many other countries do it, but us in America, Canada, I want to say like the
Western medicine countries,
Western
Australia,
medicine countries,
Canada,
we've
United States,
been
indoctrinated.
conditioned to believe that we are somehow superior, and like our food and water are sterile and clean, and we're somehow clean, and those other countries are somehow dirty and infected with parasites, right? And it's like, no, 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 no. You have been lied to. We everyone has it. You're just because you live now, if we're in the north and there's some snow and yeah, okay, there's certain parasites that don't thrive because they're tropical, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, come on, I'm here in Seattle and I'm literally drinking worms. Like
Yeah,
this is
I'm sorry.
ridiculous, right? I know that you said at the beginning that you're kind of a nut when it comes to, which I am too, like wanting to have clean water. What's can a simple like Brita
Yeah.
filter, like
No.
I'm not a Brita fan. I'm just saying, like, people are like, well, I have a filter on my fridge, right? And I'm like,
Right.
can that get rid of a parasite? Can a
No,
Brita
it
filter
has
get
to
rid
be
of a
a 1
parasite?
micron or smaller filter. So 5 microns. So nematodes are 40 micron, and then you've got pharmaceuticals and heavy metals. So I recommend you can go on Amazon, and there is a 1 micron shower filter that it has add back in it, and I use that for my shower. And then I like water drop, which is a 3 filter system that I put underneath my sinks in my bathroom, and I only hook it up onto the cold on my sink in my bathroom. I
Mhm.
just disconnect the hot altogether. And so that is about $200. You can install this yourself underneath your sink in your bathroom so that you have filtered water coming out of your sink. Again, don't do the hot or use the filter with the hot so you have hot and cold, because when you turn that hot on, it's just going to contaminate your faucet if you don't have it filtered.
Mm.
So it's around $250 to get one sink that has filtered water and your shower head that has filtered water. And then I did that across all of my bathrooms. But if you don't have that finance, it's $250 approximately. And then you
Mhm.
have a sink which has consistent filtered water. Brush your teeth with that. So I wasn't drinking the worm water out in Hoodsport, Washington. I was showering in it. I was soaking my produce in it. I was brushing my teeth with it. I was soaking my retainer in it. But I was
Yeah.
showering in filtered water, at one point. And so it when you look at it in a bigger picture, you can absorb 2 cups of water every 15 minutes that you're in it, and everything in that water. So, really, you're just recontaminating yourself if you don't at least get some sort of a shower filter. And then brush your teeth with that shower filter if you can't afford the water drop one. And all of this is on Amazon. I mean, you can go and order water drop on Amazon. Brita's not good. I've heard Brita tested worse than tap water. It really has to be a 5 micron filter or smaller to really get in there and remove a nematode.
So I like because it's budget, and so for people who are like renting and then maybe they don't want to install something, or they're on a budget, zero water is 1 micron or less. And it's like if Brita actually was good. It's a big
Mhm.
I get that there's plastics, which sucks, right? But it's a big pitcher or a big filter container, and it is 1 micron or less. So that's if someone or I'm traveling. I bring that when I'm traveling also, because like I don't want to drink water from some kind of rest or whatever place I am. I'm always filtering my water. But yeah, that whole considering the shower, considering just your sink, that's wild. That we have to really shift our thinking. Like
Yeah.
if I were to go to India or if I were to go to Mexico, right? If I were to go to, name a lot of those countries where our microbiome isn't used to their whatever's going on in their water, right? And so you don't want to get the traveler gut. You get really careful. Like you just only drink bottled water. You only brush your teeth with bottled water. You know what I mean? Like you're just really, 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 really careful. And then you say no ice. I always say no ice. I mean, I've seen things where there's mold growing in ice machines. Like, do not ever drink ice. Like, if you're at the movie theater, you're at the restaurant, like, no, 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 no. Or if you're going to a bar, like, just no ice because
No
that.
water or ice on a plane either.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Never. Cannot believe how disgusting that is. And well, you were flying
I
on
worked
these
with an
planes. You're working
airline.
in this, yeah,
Yeah,
and
but I
they
don't do,
go
oh my gosh. And in Seattle, when you look at someone and you say no ice, no tap water, bottled water only, they look at you like you're on crack because
right.
if you go and watch my podcast, What's Eating You, that's the name of my podcast. I actually did an entire hour on Seattle and how they indoctrinate the people there because they send you guys brochures that say how prestige, how clean, how amazing the water is. Literally, literally. Go back and watch it. I think it's
It's
season
so
2. It's so wild.
clean. It's so clean that there's nature inside your water, right? It's just like there's nature, there's worms, there's bacteria, it's so clean. It's like you're drinking out of a unfiltered river.
Yeah.
There's life in
Well,
your water.
oh my God, you have to go and look. You have to go and look. Type in Kim Rogers Worm Queen Seattle water, and I show you my shower head after 5 showers. It's brown black, friend.
No.
It's disgusting. The Seattle water is the worst. I'll just be completely honest. New York and Seattle, because I've traveled everywhere and I carry my clear water filter shower head. It's clear. You can see. New York was the worst. We had a billboard in New York, so I went and visited, and then they were the worst. And there were 2 showers, what equaled 5 showers with Seattle.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I imagine it's not great everywhere. Like this is, we can't just assume it's clean, and
Right.
and we can't just assume that other people in other countries have this problem. The problem is here, and the worst part about it is that people believe it's not here. Like your doctor believes we don't have parasites here.
Yes.
Right? And like, "Oh, you went to Mexico? Okay, then okay, maybe you picked one up there." No, 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 I picked one up literally here. We
Yeah.
have them here. That's the worst. Like, it would be better if we lived in a country where it was common knowledge that we were exposed to this, right? It's like
Yep.
that is worse. Like, how many people are suffering from this
95.
and don't know it?
95% of the people are suffering. 95% of us in the Western medicine countries have a parasite. Uh, I stand by that number, and I have scientific proof that our numbers are so misconstrued. Even the CDC came out and said 60 million people in the United States. That was from 2023. So they haven't done any studies since 2023, and we have inaccurate testing. And I'm not even part of that 60 million because my test went to Mexico, came back positive, but the LabCorp test came back negative, and that's who gets those numbers. So 60 million of us, per the CDC in the United States, have a parasite. Tested, confirmed. But if you don't have accurate testing, how can you be a part of that 60 million and have it be completely confirmed? And if they're not willing to take the tests that are outside of our country and put that in the 60 million, what else? You know what I mean? What
Mhm.
else are they not putting in that number? And as a lab technician, because I worked in academia and I trained lab technicians with LabCorp, they get 3 minutes. And if they don't know what that is that they're looking at, or if something's dead inside, they're just going to pass it off. And on your lab slip, it says, this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. There's a fine print at the bottom of your labs that say this is not, that is their out. That is their way of saying, well,
So it's a
asterisk,
lab
fine
tech.
print.
It's they're looking at like a little slide, and if they
Yes.
don't see enough of it
Yes.
or they don't know how to identify it,
Right.
then so a negative is like you this is like celiac. You can have a negative, like when they do a biopsy, you can have a
Yeah.
negative biopsy of celiac because when you have celiac, which is the protein in certain grains called gluten or gliadin, it causes the lining of the intestines to become incredibly flared up to the point where we lose the microvilli. They become totally flat and we can't absorb nutrients, but it's patchy, like eczema or psoriasis would be patchy along the skin on the outside of the body. It's patchy, right? And so when
Yeah.
they take a biopsy, just because you have a negative doesn't mean you don't have celiac. It means they didn't grab a part that like they didn't take
Right.
a sample, right? So you could, like you said, collect the stool improperly because
Hmm.
parasites can live in your body but not always in your stool.
Right.
Or just like you said, the lab tech might not know what they're looking for. It's not like the computer is reading it like your computer reads iron, right? Like it
Right.
so yeah, this is
And
wild.
and on top of that, if I forgot what I was going to say, if you don't test positive, this is what I was going to say. Because I worked in insurance and I helped electronic medical records, so I do know what that looks like in the back end for insurance. If you don't test positive through a Western medicine lab, your doctor may not be able to get the thousands of dollars worth of antiparasitics approved by your insurance. That's what happened to us. Jeremy tested positive, but not through LabCorp, so his insurance told us it would cost $10,000 for 6 pills for him to take an antiparasitic and his insurance wouldn't cover it. So it's a full circle if you look at it in that big of a picture. If you don't test positive, your doctor can't prescribe you the antiparasitics because you didn't test positive for a parasite, so your insurance will not pay for it. And then your cycle
Mm-mm.
begins because it could very well be what your root cause is. However, your doctor can't believe you because their lab based minds make them think that it has to be this way because insurance is going to pay. Now, you go to Mexico, that pill's $7. Literally, my
Yeah.
husband and I went on cruises around the Caribbean, and every port we got off, we went and got antiparasitics. And we take antiparasitic synthetics a few times a year just to get in there because we were so infested. But those antiparasitics will not be given to you through your insurance. And if you go to buy them with cash, you're looking at around $10,000 minimum. I had to do a round of tapeworm because I was exposed and we weren't sure what came out of me. And so we just did a 21-day synthetic and it cost $24,000 each, me and my husband. Now, did we pay that? No. We were able to go through insurance and fight for 3 months to get it paid for because we didn't have a positive test. I had pictures, but I didn't have a positive test. And my practitioner, she'll treat me and Jeremy, my husband, at the same time because what he has, I have. We just might have it in a different form. But you pass things back and forth with your spouse. And so that is the reason why it's such a big deal that when you don't test positive, but you know you have something, that's why I made this so available to people at $100. I don't want anyone to not be able to parasite cleanse because they can't get someone to believe them and they know they have one. Like,
Yeah.
instinctually when you have a worm, you feel it. You're telling people that and they're looking at you like, oh, well, it's more jealous. No, man, something is in my body. Something is wrong with me. I know my body. And so after a
Mhm.
while, you start, oh, I'm crazy. So it's really important to know that there is a vicious cycle when it comes to antiparasitics. And I'm not exactly sure why, coming from Western medicine, this is still a human body thing. So for me, sometimes I'm like, very black and white. I'm very medically structured, and I don't understand why this is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's medicine. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
went to school for. So it really is a big thing that I just don't think that people realize insurance isn't going to pay for it unless you have a positive diagnosis. The biofilms cause you to maybe not have that positive diagnosis. And then your doctor needs to fight with you to get an anti-parasitic synthetic.
If you were to go on a, let's say your Parasite Cleanse $100 kit, right? If you were to do that, does it at first, let's say I started the kit for a few days and then took stool samples, like, does it help drive them out of the tissue and into the gut so that you
Yeah.
would have a better positive?
Well, it makes them explode just like the opera singer singing. It goes in and it just makes them like dissolve, go away. Some will come out your urine, some will explode, some will, come out your stool. That's the goal, is to get them out your stool. And not everyone's going to see physical worms. Not everyone has physical worms. Some people have, like I had crypto. That was my biggest issue. It's microscopic. You can't see it. But when my stool got under a microscope, I could certainly see it. I
Mhm.
certainly saw what crypto looks like in the hardened shell and the biofilm, and I saw it all. And so it's really hard. It really is hard to determine that you have worms. That's why I just say 3 to 4 times a year. It's not going to
Just do
hurt
it.
you. Be
Yeah, just do it.
proactive. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah. Like, seriously, like, you take your car to an oil change, just do this, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
right? Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you so much, Kim, for coming on the show. I'm sorry you're the worm queen, but I'm sorry not sorry because I love that your goal is to make the understanding that we need to do parasite cleanses like common knowledge, like a
Mhm.
household conversation, right? I think back to when I was much younger watching Oprah, like in the late 80s, let's say, and she would bring up menopause. And at the time, that was like no one talked about it, right? It was like hush hush. And it was the conversation, the medical conversation, like, doctors didn't fully really understand what women go through, like, hormone replacement therapy, like, bioidentical hormones, that was, like, almost non-existent, that whole conversation, right? And she brought it into the light, like, I feel like she was one of the biggest advocates for making the discussion and now it's like this no big deal, like, we talk about premenopause and perimenopause, and I think she was a big reason why we're able to now have these discussions, and the medical community had to catch up with us because 'cause we're
Mhm.
demanding that our doctors understand this, right? And so you can be like Oprah in that sense to spark the need for us to go we have to go back to our doctors and say, "I need you to understand this. I need you to like,
Yeah.
this is something that, like, we all have to demand the medical industry catch up and stop gaslighting us."
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
wild. It's
It's
absolutely
wild.
wild. Yeah.
It's wild. And I didn't need a hysterectomy. I'll be completely honest. I feel like it was completely unnecessary now what I've uncovered. Completely. And I know I've helped thousands of women not have to have unnecessary surgeries, feel crazy. You know, it really is an epidemic that we're in with chronic illness. And it's
Mhm.
like at this point, some of the podcasts that I've been on, I was on Dr. Will Coles and it launches this month and I'm
Yeah.
excited. He's amazing. I
He is.
really have made it noted that I want medical reform. Why can't I go to the doctor and have found out that I have worms, mold, and Lyme in my body before I had a life altering surgery? Before I
Yep.
had to spend 20 years of my life with this type of sentence. And it felt like a death sentence to me.
Mm.
And so when you look at it in a bigger picture, there are 200 million women who have endometriosis that maybe don't, you know,
Yeah,
maybe they
yeah.
don't. Unnecessary procedures, unnecessary suffering, unnecessary illnesses. It's unnecessary at this point. We have enough information to be like, this is what we need to do. And like I said, some countries do that. And that's what we should be doing.
Well, and even the medical industry doesn't even understand what the root cause of endometriosis. They understand the symptoms, like, they understand what is happening, but why is it happening? What if all
Hmm.
endometriosis is parasite driven? What
Hmm.
if,
What if
right?
it's mold and parasites and Lyme and or just worms? I mean, really, why not for your own sovereignty over your own health? Dive in, do a cleanse, see what it's feels like, see what you feel like, see if the brain fog goes away, see if that pain goes away. Within 3 days of me doing my first cleanse, the pain on my right side, that was an indication I needed to have a surgery, which I had surgeries every
Mm.
2 years for almost 20 years, went away and I've never had it back. I'm in complete remission of endometriosis since 2021. Complete. Like I was told I can never have a surgery and this is the way I'm going to live the rest of my life. And I said, bullshit, I'm not doing that. That's not who I am. I'm going to find out what's going on with me. And I really feel like just those two herbs that are in the lymph kit put me into remission. I mean, there's so many
Wow.
studies around turkey tail and
Yep.
lion's mane and how it helps with Alzheimer's and breast cancer. And like really my dad took it and he had high levels of prostate cancer and his it's gone. And it's like I just feel like we're dipping into something with herbs that has always been there. Our ancestors did this. We just lost our way 100 years ago. And now we're all waking up medically
Yep.
waking up and going, oh, we've been lied to. Okay, I can stay mad. I can stay in the dirt and be like, I'm pissed, or I can actually like step forward and say, this is what I know. What do you know? Like you have to take this with a grain of salt because this is what was wrong with me and we're all different. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's where we're all at right now in life. And so I feel like it's kind of it's a cool time to be alive.
Okay. One of my last questions.
Yes.
There are certain herbs, and I love herbal medicine. I have so many interviews about it, and really, that's what I go to first is, homeopathy and herbs, and whenever I'm feeling like I need to overcome something. But there are certain herbs that shouldn't be used long term, right? Like, for example, oil of oregano, absolutely amazing, but it is like it's like taking a nuclear bomb, right? It's going to go off. It's going to kill everything.
Yeah.
You take it long enough, you're actually wiping out the good stuff with the bad, right? Raw garlic, awesome, shouldn't be eaten every day, right? Like, it can be too much, right? Like, so
Mhm.
I kinda have that mentality though of, like, go big or go home, like, don't let me enter a casino because I hit max bet. We used to live in Vegas, and there was casinos literally in the gas stations,
Yeah. I
and
live in
I
Reno area
Oh,
now.
okay, yeah, so right? So I
Mhm.
put in a 20, this was like, I haven't gambled in years, but this is back, like, 18 years ago. I put in a 20, and I thought it was one of those machines where you hit max bet and it's like a dollar or something. I hit max bet, it ate up my entire 20. I ended up winning, which was wild. It was the only time that ever happened where I hit, like, max bet, it took all the money, and then I, like, ended up walking out with over $400. But point being, I'm the kind of person, I can't help it, I have to hit max bet, and so when I do, like, supplements, sometimes I'll just, like, go overboard, right? Because I think, well, if some is good, more is better. And it's not the case with herbs, right? So my question is, with your cleanse, is the combination of herbs safe to take all the
Mhm.
time? Or does it include herbs that, like, you really shouldn't take? Like, you should only take it for 2 weeks or only take it for a month and they should take a break? Or can you take it all the time and it be safe because it's both helping to wipe out what's already infested and prevent further infestation?
The latter, yes. You can take the way that we soak the herbs and the amount we use. It's safe to take this every day if you want. I do recommend that when you're doing a parasite cleanse with Parafy that you take a 7-day break in between to allow the eggs to hatch and then you can come in and like remove them again. But I've taken my cleanse for over a year and a half straight and I had no problems. It has mine, it's not a lot of herbs and it's not a lot of tincture. Literally 15 drops is not very much. So you're
Right.
doing 15 drops of each, all three at the same time, 3 times a day. You can do it in the morning if you don't want to take it 3 times a day. It's really not going to hurt you. It's just not. There isn't anything in there that you could literally drink the whole bottle. Please don't, but you could. My husband has just to see what happens. And I don't know if he did it necessarily on purpose at the beginning of it. I'm like, why are you doing so many drops? And he's like, I'm doing this because I want to see. And I'm like, all right, whatever floats your boat.
And he lived.
Yeah, he's good because it really isn't like you're taking an over amount, right? I
Yeah.
really kept it because the general population wants to do this. So I wasn't going to go gangbuster. Again, no one wants to do a bad cleanse. And so we want it to be happy and view die off. So I didn't make it crazy.
Nice. Nice, awesome, and then what about kids?
Ages 3 and up. And we do include a dosage for them. You can give it to them 3 times a day, 15 drops. You can give them 5. And also the capsule, which is a cinnamon capsule. So it has Ceylon cinnamon and coconut activated charcoal. You can open that and add it to applesauce because kids have a hard time taking pills. But
Yeah.
we're one of the few cleanses that are for ages 3 and up. We also have a nut-free option because we do use clove and Oregon grapefruit, which also helps remove eggs. So black walnut hull is not in our nut-free option. We're one of the few that are a nut-free option, and we also ship worldwide.
So cool. Kim, thank you so much for coming on the show. I definitely want to have you back at some point. I'd love for you to continue sharing and educating us and going deeper in the subject. This has just been
Yeah.
absolutely wild.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Wasn't that an outstanding interview? Was your jaw on the floor like mine was? I can't wait for you to try the Parasite Cleanse with me. Go to learntruehealth.com/parasite and use coupon code LTH, LTH as in Learn True Health, the name of this podcast. In fact, everything that I promote that I believe in, and I only promote things I truly believe can help based on my research and my personal experience, or the experience of my clients, or like when I'm referred by practitioners that I trust, I make sure that I get a coupon code from as many, as many times as I can to make sure that I get you guys a discount. So I always use the coupon code LTH. So anything I talk about, just try coupon code LTH on any of those websites whenever you're listening to my show, and it's likely that there's some kind of discount associated because I ask founders and creators and to offer a discount to everyone. So learntruehealth.com/parasites. Go check it out. Get the Parasite Cleanse and jump in our Facebook group or email me, shoot me an email, support@learntruehealth.com, or jump in our Facebook group, the Learn True Health Facebook group. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this episode. If you have any questions for her, I'm going to definitely have her back on the show to share my personal experience working with the Parasite Cleanse and what transpires. And then if you have any questions, I could give her those questions while I do my second interview with her. And also, you could share your experiences if you end up taking her Parasite Cleanse. I'd love for the community to come together and share because it is wild what we overcome when we support our body's ability to get back to homeostasis, right? To rid ourselves of infestation. Isn't that a wild thought, infestation? There's in these parasite Facebook groups, there's pictures where they take like, I don't know if they're like MRIs, where they take these pictures of like inside the body and they can see muscle tissue riddled with parasites and the scar tissue and everything. And you don't see it, you don't feel it, right? But you feel the negative effects of it. And then a regular doctor doesn't realize that you have them, so then they're just treating symptom after symptom after symptom, chasing symptoms with drugs. So if that's you, if you know someone who has been chasing symptoms with drugs and or other things and not getting better, this is the episode. Please share it with them. It could be a lifesaver. LearnTrueHealth.com/parasites and coupon code LTH. And yeah, check out the next episode with her that I'll do in a few months. Make sure that you subscribe and get notifications so that you are notified when it comes out, because I think it's going to be really interesting. Have a great rest of your day.